interesting to know that our president's also the alumni of the IBLP. That's it for my conclusion. With that being said, let's proceed to our next agenda, which is the Q&A session. For your information, we will reward one of you who gives the best question out of all the questions that are coming in. Participants may ask questions by using the raise hand feature and ask your questions directly to Ibu Rachel Cook, or also you may type your question in the chat box and I'll be picking your questions. Okay, is there anyone who wants to ask to our speakers for today? Okay, Masjid, you may have your screen now. You speak.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hello, good afternoon, Bu Rachel. Let me introduce you myself first. My name is Muhammad Nafar Majid. I'm an international relations student at Azhar Indonesia University. And I want to thank you also for such a great yet insightful presentation. You carry out this topic very well. And actually, I have two questions. So firstly, I want to ask more about the domestic policy and program that specialize towards the underprivileged student. So as we know, there is inequality and lack of access and also underprivileged student in order to have a good education, like especially in poor or developing countries, like in some part of Asia or Africa or South America, and also countries that are affected by the war. And one of the keys in developing this country is to gain access to higher levels of education, as you mentioned earlier. So regarding this issue, is there some kind of policy agreement or maybe a specialized program from the American government in building a more educated world society, such as building schools in these underprivileged countries maybe, or special program that accepting more international students from these poor or developing countries, or maybe for an instance, like the opportunity to attend one of the Ivy Leagues in the US maybe. And that was my first question. And my second question is, does the role for the NGOs or educational organization, how effective the role of these organizations are? So thank you so much. I hope you got my point. Looking forward for an explanation. Thank you so much, Bu Rachel.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for your questions, Pak. So your first question was more about underprivileged students and how we might specifically work with them and assist them. Their second question was more about the role of NGOs. And so for your first question, absolutely. We have a lot of our programs really focus on underprivileged or underrepresented populations around the world and also underserved. So for example, I talked a little bit about our English language fellow program. So we bring in English language fellows. These are instructors, teachers, but also people who are like teacher trainers to teach English and to teach English teachers. And we send them to places in Indonesia, for example, in Kalimantan and in Sumatra, and kind of in more remote places that don't have the opportunity to practice English, to study English at a private institution, for example. And we focus on working with those populations to help those students develop English. Because if you want to study in the United States, you clearly have to have a pretty good grasp of English. So how do we help people who don't have the ability or the access to learning English so that 10 years from now, they can actually try to go study in the United States? We do this by providing the English training directly to them out where they are living, out in the outer islands. And then we continue to work with those students throughout the years to help them, for example, go over to Education USA Advising Services and help them directly work with applying to universities, taking the TOEFL test, preparing for the TOEFL test, all of this, right? So we absolutely work specifically with underrepresented